100 Sundays. That's a long time. It's long enough to form a habit, long enough to learn something new. That's long enough to become someone a little different than you were when you began. When I sat down to prepare this week's episode, I realized something. Today really isn't about 100 Sundays. It's about what 100 Sundays makes possible. So today, I'd like to ask you a question. Not about me, but about you. Who were you 100 Sundays ago? I'm not asking what job you had. Not asking where did you live, not what was on your calendar, but who were you? What worried you? What kept you up at night? What dream were you still hoping would happen, and what burden were you still carrying? And now, who are you today? But before we go any further, let's take one slow breath together. In and out. Again, in and out. And for these next few minutes, there's nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to accomplish. Just be here. Because sometimes we have to slow down before we can see how far we've come. I'm Whitnie Wiley, and thank you for joining me for this episode of Your Sunday Setup. You may not know this, but one of my favorite quotes comes from Steve Jobs. He said, "You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward." And I've always loved that thought, because so much of life only makes sense in the rearview mirror. We spend our days moving from one responsibility to another, one conversation to the next, one challenge after another, rarely stopping long enough to notice what's changing inside us. And here's what I've discovered. You rarely notice your life changing while you're living it. You notice it when you pause long enough to look back. And that's one of the gifts of Sunday. It invites us to pause, to reflect, to recognize the dots we couldn't see while we were busy living them. When I started Your Sunday Setup, I wasn't thinking about 100 Sundays. Honestly, I wasn't even thinking about 1 year. I simply wanted to create a place where people could breathe before Monday. A quiet corner of the week, a reminder that before the emails, before the meetings, before the responsibility, that there's still a choice. A choice about how we would enter the week. Would we begin it by reacting, or would we begin it intentionally? and I thought I was creating a weekly pause. But now, looking back, I realize we were practicing something much bigger. We weren't just preparing for Monday. We've been practicing a different way of living. And for that, I'm deeply grateful, because every Sunday, you chose to show up. Not for me, but for yourself. And over these 100 Sundays, we've talked about courage. Not because courage removes fear, but because courage helps us move anyway. We've talked about compassion, learning that the second arrow is often the one we fire ourselves. We've talked about peace, discovering that sometimes the greatest burden isn't what happens, it is what we continue to carry. We've explored rest, boundaries, purpose, gratitude, hope, not as ideas to admire, but as practices to live, one ordinary week at a time. One of the unexpected gifts of creating this series has been realizing that the lessons I'd hope would encourage others were quietly changing me too. Every week I asked you to pause, and every week I had to pause first. Every week I invited you to reflect, and every week I had to reflect first. Somehow, without either of us fully realizing it, these Sundays became part of our lives. Not because any one episode changed everything, or maybe even anything in the moment, but because showing up week after week slowly changes us. So today, I don't want you to think about this being episode 100. I want you to think about your own life. How have you changed? What no longer controls you? What matters more now than it used to? What have you survived that once felt impossible? Who have you forgiven? What have you finally laid down? Who are you becoming? Because those answers, those are the real milestones. We began this journey with one question: how do we prepare for Monday? And it's still a good question. It has served us well, but standing here today, I think we're ready for another one, a deeper one, a question that reaches beyond our calendars and into our lives. I used to say when I had a job working for someone else that I wanted a life I didn't need a vacation from. And the question that comes up that's related to that is, how do we build a life we don't need to recover from every Sunday? I'm going to repeat that. How do we build a life we don't need to recover from every Sunday? I think that's where we're going next. So, wherever this Sunday finds you, thank you. Thank you for making space to reflect. Thank you for choosing intention over autopilot. Thank you for walking these 100 Sundays with me. We've come a long way, and I have a feeling we're only beginning to discover what's possible. If today's episode encouraged you, I'd be grateful if you'd like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need this reminder this week. Every share helps this community continue to grow. And if you'd like a simple way to carry this practice into your week, take a look at the Mindful 5 Mindful Moments digital card deck. It's designed to help you pause, reflect, and reconnect with yourself in 5 minutes or less. No meditation experience is required, just one intentional moment at a time. You can learn more at themindful5.com/card deck. I'll see you next Sunday when we continue the journey together. And until next time, take care.